Welcome back to Brokers of Secrets. I've got bad news for you. A lot of you rely on willpower. And if you have to rely on willpower, that means your conscious goals are in active conflict with your unconscious programming. You're having to force yourself to do something. And the reason you don't want to do it, and you have to use force to make yourself do it with willpower, is because your subconscious programming are not supporting you. Imagine if you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband or wife, imagine you have to force them to love you. You're like, no, you have to love me. That would be weird, right? That wouldn't work. That relationship that's so intimate between your conscious and your unconscious is very similar. You shouldn't have to force your unconscious to do what you don't want. Now, that doesn't mean you don't do what you know is right, even when you don't want to. What I mean is you need to reprogram your subconscious. Because if you're in active conflict with your subconscious, it won't last. That's why willpower is very inefficient. It's the last worst usage of your mental power. The best way to use the so-called willpower is that you need to use that to reprogram your unconscious so that your unconscious naturally aligns with your conscious mind, with your conscious goals. Your conscious, unconscious need to be so aligned that you can actually say, I want to hit this goal, and your unconscious mind's like, I'm on board, let's do this. This is it. I'm so excited. And you should feel a feeling of pure alignment and flow. A lot of very, very prominent psychologists, neuroscientists have been talking about flow state for a long time. And many of them even dive into talking about psychedelics or the usage of, different altered states to get to the flow state. I'm going to tell you straight up, the reason you're not naturally in it is because your unconscious programming are in active conflict with your goals. But then you might say, well, William, I'm of course going to set goals that are bigger than what my unconscious programs are so that I can grow into it, right? Yes, not with willpower though. Not with force. You need to incentivize your unconscious. What do you do to incentivize your unconscious? You start with understanding the engines that drives your behaviors at the subconscious level. This episode's about understanding what I talked about previously with the clarity audit. It's to understand why each of the engines plays such a crucial role in determining your behaviors and cause you to act one way or another. These are the core engines of your unconscious. So if you're wondering why you have to use willpower, well, it's because those core engines aren't lined up to help you achieve your goals. This should make a lot of sense now. So if you're curious, how do I minimize the usage of willpower and maximize flow state? This adds another layer of understanding to, well, I can work on my stability engine, I can work on my power engine, and I can work on my expansion engine, tweak them in a way that makes sense and works naturally so it flows. So the active conflict between the unconscious and the conscious goals will naturally get resolved if your engines are not in active conflict with each other. And I'll give you another metaphor, very similar to what I said earlier. You don't want to force someone to love you. Well, the reason they can't love you, or they couldn't love you, or they don't love you, may be because they don't love themselves. Imagine if your unconscious doesn't even agree with the self. How would it agree with you and do what you ask? If you think about how your unconscious mind might be in active conflict with the self, and the stability engines are in conflict with the power engine, with the expansion engine, and you are here asking for this wonderful goals that you consider to be magnificent, your mind's going to be like, get out of my way. We're dealing with this conflict right now. We're not interested. You're just a distraction. Imagine your important, cherished goals being perceived by your unconscious as a distraction. That's the bad news. That's what most people face. So you've got to correct that actively. And to start there, well, go to upgrade.com, upgrd.com, actually understand your engines, and then, hey, there's a way to learn how you can correct that. So the following step is to learn how you can upgrade these engines, how they work together, how you can resolve those conflicts, how you can actually get all of the parts of your engines to work together. And we actually have techniques for this. And we've actually come up with methodologies in our trainings, in Upgrade Self, Upgrade Others, Upgrade World, that teach that. For some of you, you've been listening to us for a long time, and you understand you're in these programs. Definitely show up to our implementation call. Implementation calls are crucial for you to let us help you resolve these conflicts. If you're not, and you're brand new to Upgrade Community or Upgrade in general, I've created something that makes it a lot easier for you to get started. In the past, many of our training starts at 6,000 or 10,000. And for someone brand new who doesn't know us, it might take some time to get to know us, watch our podcast, listen to our podcast, or participate in some free calls. It might just delay your progress or your starting point, right? And so my team and I decided to come up with something called Upgrade Your Mind in a Week. Upgrade Your Mind in a Week is something that literally takes all of the most important tools, boil it down to the simplest, most easy way to implement, and then giving it to you in the very easy to apply training that only takes you a week. You get on for a little bit a day, and over 7 days, the course of 7 days, you will experience Upgrade Your Mind in a Week. Now, you may say, William, can I really upgrade my mind in a week? The answer is absolutely yes. And the reason I can be so confident about it is because we literally take some of our most precious, most special tools from the higher level trainings, and then we test and see which ones need to be the ones that people learn first to create results that they can be proud of in a week or less. I want you to have the best. So when you're introduced to us, you test it, you buy into that 1 week, and you learn and you grow, and you're like, wow, it's showing up, it's working out, the results are amazing, I want to jump in more, right? So selfishly, I want to give you the best things. So in that week, you're going to experience amazing things, and you'll want to keep going. Now, of course, this 1 week does not in any way, shape, or form replace the bigger, deeper, more comprehensive trainings that are all about implementation. It functions as a great introduction, but also a great reminder. So even if you do end up signing up for our other trainings, or maybe you're already in our other trainings, you can actually utilize this 1 week to revisit and refresh some of the core things. And here's why. Some of you might have a conference in a week and you have to present in front of 1,000 people. Some of you might be going on a trip. You sold some products or you sold your company, who knows? Amazing things happen and you're like, I'd like to take a week just for myself, go on a vacation and really focus on myself. Well, you can hop on during that week for a little bit a day and really focus on yourself. For some of you might be going through a hard time. You're like, man, just went through a divorce or a breakup or something didn't work out. And you're like, I need to really get back on my feet and I really want to get my mind right. This Upgrade Your Mind in a Week is exactly where you go to. If you take the audit at upgrade.com, you're going to find at the end that you can actually participate in our Upgrade Your Mind in a Week. That training is magnificent. And there's only one way to find out. Now, let me tell you this. The reason people should not be relying on willpower is that your unconscious mind will likely betray you. I know that sounds funny. Why would your own mind betray you? But we've seen it all over. Smart, intelligent, hard-working, good people out there are betraying themselves. And they may call it moments of weakness. They may say, my willpower was gone, or they may say whatever. But it's not that their willpower was gone. It's that their willpower was overpowered by their unconscious. Their unconscious is in so much conflict with your conscious goals. It's like, F it, I don't want to do what you say. I'm going to do what I want because it actually runs 99.9% of you. The conscious mind is like a little mouse and the unconscious is like a giant elephant. Imagine the mouse trying to steer the elephant to go one way or another. The elephant could just decide not to. So the reason people get betrayed by their own unconscious is when your goals literally conflict with your own mind. In the previous episode, I talked about how my mother yelled at me and almost smacked me on the face by me asking her, are we rich because we bought a brand new TV? And then she said what? She said, well, don't tell people that you have money because they'll want to take it. Well, that pattern was not just the little 5-year-old me, right? It perpetuated into my 20s. So anytime I started making money, I wanted to spend them unconsciously. And I would try to use willpower to stop myself, but it was not possible because my unconscious mind was like, I have to protect my survival. There's actually a very traumatic story with my mother's grandfather that broke the whole family apart. Imprinted into my mind was the entire storyline. And so in my 20s, I would find myself unconsciously protecting myself, and the survival come first. Not my willpower of wanting to save more money, because even that may seem like survival, but it was less important than actual survival that my unconscious mind considers to be a higher priority. Second story. I have a grandfather. My grandfather was trapped when he was out after he got married. 10 days later, he went to work in a different country, and he was trapped in that country, couldn't return home for 10 years. During that time, in both his and my grandmother's mind, they equated relationship to be dangerous, because having a relationship meant more worries when he was gone. Because if he was gone and he wasn't in a relationship, he wouldn't feel all of the terrible feelings that he felt during 10 years of being gone while shortly after being a newlywed. So the turmoil, the trauma, the extreme levels of sadness that he experienced would not have been there as much if he didn't have to worry about his wife and my grandmother, her husband. So in their minds, relationship equated to this insane levels of turmoil and danger. And it was attached to the whole traumatic event. Now, guess what I thought when I thought about relationships when I started dating? Danger. So my willpower might say, you need to go out this Saturday and meet some people. And my mind's like, no, stay in. It's dangerous. It could cause future worries. It could cause turmoil. So that is your unconscious mind protecting you, but it doesn't make sense, does it? So if you actually become aware of that and resolve it, even as you're listening, you may actually be resolving some stuff. You will find that your core engines are actually in conflict with each other and with your conscious goals. So you might be wondering, why am I still single? Or why is my marriage or relationship not working? Well, it's actually your unconscious mind's in active conflict with you. Lastly, and I like to use my family as examples because, it's personal and I got to see all sides of it. My parents used to sacrifice their health, according to them. And I watched it too. If we had a nice meal and had protein, they would give me all the protein and they say, oh, we'll just eat the carb because you're important. And in my little mind as a kid, I learned that in order to be a good parent or good parents, you have to sacrifice your health. Now, that's a terrible program, especially if you become a parent. Do you think that I would experience the same pattern? Yeah, absolutely. And it was highly unconscious. So I found myself doing the same exact thing unconsciously. And my unconscious mind would protect me from not being a good parent by sacrificing my health. And anything that was really good for my health, I was finding myself resisting it. And I had to use my willpower to force myself to take good care of myself. That's a problem, isn't it? If you're looking at your life, you're like, man, I have a great career and make good money, but my relationship sucks. And my health is nowhere near where it needs to be. Well, these could be deeper underlying conflicts that are happening in your unconscious. That's why your unconscious is having an active conflict. Otherwise, it would be effortless. Why would it go against itself? Well, it's because of programming. Same thing, relationships. Why would you not be able to keep a relationship if you're an awesome person? And many of you who are listening know you are, but deep inside you might feel, oh, I don't deserve this amazing person that I want, that I've designed, or I don't deserve this or that. If that is anything that you're thinking about, it likely goes back again to the same exact thing, the active conflict, because you first off don't understand what's driving your unconscious, and those drivers, those engines are in active conflict. Some of you are like, I want to have kids, but I'm having a hard time. It may be worth looking at these engines being in active conflict. because the child or conception of the child or the birth of the child may mean that one of these core engines will go out of whack, or one of your programs will be threatened because you learned something from your ancestors. You need to really consider that it's your unconscious mind being in active conflict with your conscious goals. That's why it seems like you need to have willpower and it's harder than it should be. In conclusion, anything that's hard in life and that you feel like you have to use willpower, first off, your willpower is inefficient. Second, the reason you feel that way is because your conscious and unconscious mind are having an active conflict. And you may pretend that they aren't and pretend that there's nothing to do. And some of you will even go learn the tools and say, no. Most of you will realize at some point that it's not just the tools, it's the understanding that you do need to actually resolve the unconscious conflict with the conscious. Not only do we have the tools, we have strategies, we have ways that can help you completely resolve that and align your conscious and conscious. That is the solution. So when it comes to having that inefficient willpower that you have to use to get stuff done, or experiencing conflict, having a hard time achieving what you want, it's really at the end of the day, we need to align your conscious and unconscious. And that is where the magic begins.